everyone. Welcome to the AwardsWatch Podcast. I am Erik Anderson, Editor-in-Chief of AwardsWatch, and I have with me Ryan McQuade, Executive Editor.
Hi, everyone. Sorry, I was looking at my finger here and something weird's on it. Anyway, hi. How are you doing?
Okay, anyway, and Associate Editor Sophia Ciminello,
Hi, guys.
and our fabulous contributor Josh Parham.
Hello, hello.
We are going to talk a little bit about the new New York and Toronto Film Festival editions, and then go into some acting category predictions. We're in mid-August right now, so we have pretty much everything we need to know about the upcoming festivals, who's playing where and what it means, and designations and all of that. And I know a lot of people have a lot to say about where some movie is playing, where it's not playing, what section it's playing in. And what we had this week was the spotlight section of New York Film Festival. And it's a really, really great section. We already knew that Godzilla Minus Zero was going to be a Spotlight Gala world premiere, and I think we're all pretty excited about that. But we're also going to have Bucking Faster, Werner Herzog's really bizarre and amazing looking Mara sister drama comedy, whatever it is. Club Kid is making its way there. The debut is, and a handful of other things. I'm going to throw it right to Sophia, you first, as our New York resident. What do you think of the Spotlight section, and what movies are in it?
Yeah, I love the New York Film Festival. It's really my favorite time of year here in the city. Feels really magical. I hope the weather's a little bit cooler this year than last year. We had a little bit of a fall heat wave. And I think the Spotlight section always has some really fun titles. I think the main slate is really impressive this year, but just looking at the Spotlight lineup, I was glad to see Club Kid here. I think that, that was one of my favorite movies from Cannes. It's a great New York film, and I actually think it's going to play really well with the New York crowd. I think that it is a really eclectic mix. You have some documentaries like Making Marie Antoinette from Eleanor Coppola, which follows the making of Sofia Coppola's Marie Antoinette, which is my favorite of her movies. We have a couple of Cannes carryovers also too with Iron Boy and Fjord. I think, there was a lot of talk about Fjord not being in the main slate. It's here. It's playing at New York Film Festival. It's playing at all of the fall film festivals. So I think this is definitely going to be one to watch as the Palme d'Or winner. They're also taking The Only Living Pickpocket in New York. Sony Pictures Classics is really everywhere. That's coming from Sundance. It makes a lot of sense. A lot of times, this is a section where they will take New York specific films or films that will play really well for audiences here. So I think, that one starring John Turturro makes a lot of sense here. It's a great lineup. Also, like a surprising inclusion of A Statement from Tom McCarthy. So that's a world premiere. I did not even know anything about this film until it was announced. And then I saw that absolutely insane cast, like Paul Giamatti, Paul Rudd, another John Turturro inclusion. Amy Ryan's in it, Jason Clarke. There's so many people in this movie. So yeah, I think though it's an exciting lineup. We always have, I think, some great inclusions here. And yeah, I'm excited to check everything out in the fall.
Very much so. Yeah, Ryan, that's the biggest surprise obviously with that announcement was A Statement being in there, because I think we knew that there was a Tom McCarthy movie happening, but we had no idea that it was going to pop up here. So I kind of want to get your thoughts on what you think is going to happen with A Statement.
I was as shocked as everybody else about A Statement. I first saw it, I was like, "Is that a real movie?" And and because I didn't honestly, even Sophia's like saying McCarthy, who I genuinely like his films. I think he's a good filmmaker. And I even liked his what was the Stillwater? Was that the one with Matt Damon in it? I even liked that film.
Saw that at
And
Cannes that year.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I thought Damon was pretty good in that film. And so he hasn't made a big film since then. And this has got not necessarily spotlight feels, but you know what it's kind of got like old school Aaron Sorkin feels. It's got the like the feeling of like a giant ensemble, probably a a very wordy, dialogue driven film, people in a room discussing a political event. And it's a very a very mixed, just great cast. Paul Rudd being, I would assume, the lead of this, with Paul Giamatti and all these and Tatiana Maslany and everybody else here. It seems to it could maybe do something, or it could be September 5 this year, where it maybe is a screenplay nominee, and that is about it. And so, but it is interesting that it's only doing New York, and then it'll probably go to the regionals, and that's where I think it'll do really probably well, because like I could see it at Mill Valley, Middleburg, and then do we have a release date for it? Do we know when it's coming
No,
out
it
yet?
just
No,
says in 2027,
that
which I think we know
limited
what that
now, and then
means. Yeah.
and so I could see it also play it at potentially at AFI Fest as well later in
Yeah.
the year as well too. So I think that it's sneaky, but also could be something. And New York has these three big premieres this year. This is a big premiere, having Godzilla, which we haven't talked about, which is huge, and not a film that I would have thought for this festival at all. But of course, because Godzilla is going to New York, it only makes sense that the film is here. Also, we talked about Behemoth before, and now this. These are very big premieres and very big pieces on the board. Not necessarily Godzilla for awards play, but the previous film was a winner, if I'm not mistaken, in visual
Yeah.
Yeah,
effects.
it's a
So
great
that
winner.
is one of the best winners we've had so far in a very long time in that category. And Tom McCarthy has a Best Picture win on his mantle, so you have to take that into consideration. And yeah, it honestly, like a statement feels like, because the reshoots of The Social Reckoning and that movie pushing back, it feels like its placement in the fall festival as the political drama that I kind of feel like we were missing because of those reshoots and because of the really bad trailer that the film is. Not that I want to see it because it looked terrible, but because of its anticipation. So I'm looking forward to it. And like Sophia said, like all the other films in the lineup, it looked about right. The Cannes titles, the other fall festivals, and then of course Fjord, which everybody lost their fucking minds over because it wasn't in the initial main slate, and then it was totally going to be here, and it ended up in the spotlight section, and then everybody was like trying to point like I told you so's, and it's just like, all right, why don't you sit down as well, people? Like everybody just kind of like pointing fingers at each other. It's like, you sit down and just watch the movie, and maybe don't change your seats midway through the screening or whatever. So point is, these films, really good lineup. New York really solid this year, and their premieres, some of the best they've had in a while, it looks like, on paper.
Yeah, it is one of the more exciting New York lineups in a while. And yeah, I'm very, very into what a statement could possibly be. Feels like 12 angry climatologists. I'm here for that. And there better be a giant inflatable Godzilla like in front of Lincoln Center, like the Trojan horse, because
Ah,
that needs to happen.
now I'm
That
thinking
needs
of a
to happen.
Godzilla popcorn bucket, which they're
Exactly.
totally gonna do.
Exactly. Josh, I want to sort of get your vibe on what your thoughts of the New York lineup of the spotlight section is, and then we'll kind of jump really quickly to some of these Toronto announcements, which also are very interesting.
I mean, it looks like a really great lineup. I have yet to go to the New York Festival, but I get jealous every year because it just always seems like they have such a great selection there. And like Club Kid is probably number one on my list of what I want to see. it just sounds like it's right up my alley. And, you have Diego Calva. So that's 90% of the reason I want to go see it. But regardless, still, Iron Boy was another one I was sort of surprised to see included. And I think in a very fractured and not very solidified animated feature race, I'm really on the lookout for any title that can pop up. And that one I have my eye on. Honestly, to me, actually, the big story about this lineup is not what's here, but what is not here, and that is La Bola Negra. I am rather shocked that that movie is not playing at this festival, which I feel like might speak to maybe the divide on some of the high-minded critics of that I kind of feel like this festival has a reputation of, and maybe their feelings about that movie, which I kind of got that sense from the Cannes reaction, and maybe this is a further emphasis on that. But I found that to be very curious as it not being in this lineup.
Yeah, I think there's always a lot of scuttlebutt about what makes it in and what doesn't, and then people have ideas of something either not being submitted or being rejected, and kind of like throw out these theories without really a lot of facts or information. So I do think that you are probably right, Josh, in that assertion though, because from what a lot of the canned detractors for that movie, they're I I think they maybe that Netflix didn't want to kind of face that again, but I think they're trying to be year after year pretty smart and methodical about where they have things and how many places, because they've certainly in the past inundated like their number one film at every single festival, and it just starts to feel really forced, and then that becomes the story, is that, oh, they're just trying too hard, because they also have Ink, which is clearly a very big film for them, and it's also playing a lot of places. Possible Love is in different places than the Bola Negra, so I think it's very strategic, but I also think it's kind of the right choice.
Oh, I,
So
I think so. I mean, I have yet to see the movie, but just knowing what the reception was and what I heard from some of the detractors, it kind of felt like it was from a particular perspective. I don't want to say, pretentious. I don't want to say like it's those type of people, but people like I heard Miramax thrown around a lot. And to me, that seems like maybe not a movie you want to get a dent in terms of your momentum at New York. And I do think it's a very strategic play in and a smart one from Netflix. Totally.
yeah, as a detractor of those detractors, I think it's one of the best movies of the year. I think it was absolutely incredible, and I can't wait to see it again. And I can't wait for everybody here to see it. Let's pop over really quickly to Toronto, which has they revealed their schedule, and we won't even really get into the whole press screening issue because that is its own thing. I don't want to dive too much into it, but it's going to be
It's
pretty.
dumb.
It's pretty bad, and I feel pretty bad for the number of people that are making the trip to Toronto, assigned films, and may not be able to see them. It's going to be pretty rough.
I
So
think they're gonna have a lot of negative feedback this year, and
I mean, it's already started. It
but
started last year, and
it's gonna
very bad
happen.
this year.
But at the height of it will be during the festival when people can't see things, and limiting the thing about that film festival being a 10-day festival is like there's no excuse not to have multiple screenings of things. That is ridiculous.
Yeah,
Sorry, Eric. I know you didn't want to
it's
hound
no,
on it,
it's it,
but it is a very frustrating thing, especially when you let everybody in the sun in for press. So it's like there's a lot of people
not
trying to
Clara in the Sun though.
not Clara in the Sun. She is
Well, that
not in the
was
lineup.
that was going to be my point, obviously, about this
Hmm.
festival.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but I remember last year going to the P&I screening for No Other Choice, and you had to show up like 2 hours ahead of time for that thing, and so many people didn't get into it and didn't see it, obviously, to like New York and other places. But yeah, this is already difficult enough of a process of film festival, and they just made it worse.
it is. It's not great. But in the new announcements that we had, which again come with certain designations. We've got The Liberation, which comes from a relatively controversial director. And people have been already outspoken about that, but it has Carrie Coon, so I'm obviously going to see it. Wild Horse 9 really kind of going almost everywhere. It's really making the rounds, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute during our predictions. And then of course Bucking Faster, which I think to me is kind of the one of the biggest stories of all of these films, because it's playing every fall festival after getting it didn't get rejected from Cannes. Herzog rejected Cannes, not putting it into competition, and said, I want my film in competition for awards, not for the awards' sake, but so that it can get visibility for a buyer. And it's the only film of all of these that we're talking about that still doesn't have a distributor. So to be able to hit all of these places is really impressive. And I can't wait to see that. And I hope somebody smart picks it up.
Yeah. I hope
Yes,
so
Probably
too.
and
it'll probably be Neon or Movie, because that's what
I
he picks up
They
mean,
have
everything.
so many
They pick up
things though. My
everything, though.
God.
I
I
mean, what do
mean,
you want it to be?
maybe.
Black Bear and no one see it?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know.
Just saying, like that's how it
We'll
goes.
we'll see. We'll see how it turns out. We're going to turn our attention now to the acting categories and predictions, and kind of where these festival announcements have maybe changed things or dropped, risen, whatever it might be. And actually want to start with supporting actor. I am not sure I have made a whole lot of changes in my last months, but I've certainly made some changes in from previous months. I'm really kind of low on Digger now, so I don't have like John Goodman or Riz Ahmed anymore. I can almost visualize this being like Bardo and getting in cinematography, and that's it. I don't know. There's something is kind of off about it. So I think the thing that I focused on was that announcement of Ink being at Venice and hitting multiple other festivals. Guy Pearce was already on that radar, and now I feel very, very good about him. So at the moment, I'm looking at Guy Pearce and Sam Rockwell in Wild Horse 9, who, sidebar, is a co-lead. In the most co-lead, he might even have more screen time than John Malkovich. Very, very close. Paul Giamatti in the debut. What I'm hearing about that film and about him is amazing. And I think I think the invite is making a stronger play than maybe we would have thought earlier in the year. It's I think I think it might be happening in a bigger way. So I'm going with Edward Norton as well to make a return. And then at the end, I am I going with John Leguizamo and kind of doing like a maybe I am. Sophia, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I pretty much agree. I think for me, like Paul Giamatti is out front just because like when I weirdly I feel like Jesse Eisenberg has the potential to like be our Woody Allen at the Oscars and people will just win for being in his movies. Like it just it feels like we could start to see something like that after, Kieran Culkin swept for Real Pain. I think Paul Giamatti, he was close with the holdovers, but that was just never going to happen up against Cillian Murphy for Oppenheimer. So this feels like something that is a bit of that, like career overdue narrative, but also I think he could have a really meaty part here. That's what I gather from the trailer. Sam Rockwell, he could be Zoe Saldana. Like, I mean, she had more screen time than Carla Sofia Gascon and she won. So I think that like sometimes it really doesn't matter if they're co-leads. I wish I could just push Digger aside. But I am always fearful of Inarritu and the havoc that he can wreak at the Oscars. I think I just take it too personally. I think that this is a very different thing than Bardo. Like this has movie stars, it's English language, it feels very loud and very topical. And yes, I do not think the trailer looks particularly good or looks like something I would like, but like when that doesn't matter for the actors branch. And I think like John Goodman, I would say is still pretty strong here for me. This is going to be one of those where I just need to see how people respond to it before I take it out because I am just too pessimistic with this one. And then there are, I think, some other people where I just have questions as to what category they'll be going into as well. So I think that that really applies to a number of people who are in Digger or Wild Horse Nine. I think Wild Horse Nine, especially like Steve Buscemi, Sam Rockwell, like those, it's where are they going to end up running if the film is very strong. And I think John Leguizamo can also make a play, but I'm going to be all in on my hot performance of the year, Edward Norton in The Invite, making it in. I think this can happen. I really do. I think that the film there's a lot of love for it. It's just, what are A24's priorities and what can they balance also? Because it also could be that, they have a lot of films with a similar feel and flavor to them. If you have The Debut, The Invite, Club Kid, all kind of circling the same things. So that's how I'm looking at the category right now, though.
Yeah, Josh, what do you think?
Well, I do co-sign with Sophia on the pessimism about Digger. It's like, which is so funny because everybody or a lot of people were saying complaints about the trailer, and I'm like, it's an Iñárritu movie. Like they're all gonna look bad to me. I don't know why you think this one would be any different than the other one. So, but to her points, like I do think when he works in English, I just feel like there is a different reception when he's working with movie stars and named actors. And I do think, we'll talk about it, but I think the Tom Cruise factor is going to kind of lift all boats with this project. And especially for John Goodman, an actor who has been working for so long, doesn't have a nomination. I just feel like even if he's not winning, that'll be a good spot to reward him for that movie. So I still think so. I think Riz Ahmed could also happen too because he's very well respected. Nightmare Scenario. I know we don't really want to talk about it, but I do have my eye on Coleman Domingo for Michael. Like that feels like one of those shows up at Globe and SAG, and maybe is on. Like maybe he won't make it right into the five, but he'll be enough in the conversation that we got to talk about it.
Yeah, that is definitely a performance. So I think it's absolutely possible. Ryan, what's your take on supporting actor?
I think this is the battle of narratives and so many character actors. I mean, we've all mentioned them: Guy Pearce, Paul Giamatti, Edward Norton. None of these guys have Oscars. I mean, Mark Ruffalo, also for the Sean Heder film, is very much going to be in consideration. I mean, Mark Ruffalo, a very well respected actor, multi-time nominee. I mean, Sean Heder, the last time she had a film, she had a supporting actor winner, whether you like it or not. Sam Rockwell has won this category before, and got it in for crappy work. Look at Vice. And so, I think that looking early on, just based off of what's on paper, I think it's Guy Pearce versus Paul Giamatti, which are very classic supporting actor performances. They're supporting actor, type of campaigns. I do agree with Josh about Coleman Domingo. Coleman Domingo can touch anything at this point and can get nominated. If he can get nominated for this, then I'm not saying he's going to win. I would just say that he's definitely going to continue to be someone that's going to build towards a season where we are going to reward him. I think as much as I know myself, Erik and Sophia were mixed on this performance from the Odyssey. I do think, along with John Leguizamo, that Tom Holland is in the running for potentially getting in there because he was celebrated by some people. They do like that performance. He's had a massive year, and I do think that Hathaway, Damon, and Holland will be the ones on the campaign trail, much like Downey, Blunt, and Murphy were for Oppenheimer, and that will go a long way. And he's very well loved and very well respected. People love him and Zendaya, and the fact that Spider-Man is going to make maybe $2.5 billion, I think helps him out as well. In terms of a big year, I do agree with Josh. I think we're underrating John Goodman and the chance to finally get him a nomination. I will be very interesting to see about the supporting actor plays in something like La Bola Negra and where all that categorizes. If anything can rise to the top there, sight unseen for myself. Buscemi as well. Then there's the performance. I mean, we talked about kind of lead supportings. I mean, like, what are they going to do with Adam Driver for Paper Tiger? That is, I think, more of a supporting performance. And if they ran him in that performance in this category, I think that could land him a nomination because
New York Film Critics Circle winner.
Very much
sure.
so.
Absolutely.
But then there's also I'm gonna say a performance. We haven't mentioned it yet. It's also impaired with something in Best Actor. We haven't mentioned his name is James Ortiz, and it is Project Hail Mary. And if that film has already started screening, it has already started its campaign from Amazon. If there is some weird performance that comes out, it is that puppeteering performance that has everybody by the hearts if they go all in on Project Hail Mary. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's definitely one to keep in like the 10 to 15 range because they will do specific screenings and they will have special little awards at some of these places. And I do see potentially like a Critics' Choice nomination for it. And so I would not be surprised if by the end, if that film is getting into picture and Gosling's in the 5, that performance comes along, and it would be a shocker. It would be shocking because we've had performances like that in the mix before for this one to break through, but it wouldn't be surprising considering the fact the movie is a hit. People will love it, and they love that character.
I mean, I'm not going to entirely dismiss that, but it does seem like that was sort of people were going to try to grab onto that in springtime. I could see SAG absolutely going for it.
Yeah, that too.
But mate, I don't know about past that. You're going to follow up with something?
Yes. Also, none of us mentioned it, but Jeremy Strong for The Social Reckoning.
Well, I was just going to.
It's still there.
I don't think he's doing himself any favors with that insane interview that he just did.
He doesn't do himself with any interview in any favor, and yet he still got nominated as Roy Cohn. So it doesn't really. It's a little bit like, who cares? They people respect him, and if he can turn in a decent performance in that film, I mean, Jesse Eisenberg was nominated before in the same in playing the same character. I don't know what that movie in the reshoots and what it all entails, but he's at the forefront of that trailer and the poster. And I think that if any nomination comes from that film from the acting branch, I think it's Jeremy Strong.
Yeah.
And Jeremy Strong, one of my cilantro picks. I don't know. I just feel like he tries so hard to convince me that he's a great actor, and it is.
But they love it.
It's a struggle.
Actors love that sometimes, though.
So
we'll see. Yeah,
they do. I think it will depend on the strength of the movie, though, and I am cautious about the reception to that film.
But I would love.
Yeah, I mean, I loved his Roy Cohn. I thought it was perfectly unhinged and kind of exactly what that character and person should have been.
Yeah. Erik, can I ask you, because you've seen La Bola Negra, I've seen a lot of people predicting Guitarrica de la Fuente in supporting instead of lead.
He'll be lead.
Okay.
I only say this as a personal belief, not as any type of confirmation, because it is a triptych of stories. So there's 3 different guys playing, in their own parts, but it's pretty clear to me, at least, that the 2 that are in the 1937 section and the 2017 section are very supporting. Plus, there's a whole nother supporting actor that's in Guitarrica de la Fuente's section. That's just how
Okay.
I feel. That's that it would do that. I can see them going all supporting, but you got four guys trying to compete.
Hmm.
Even if that was the case, he would be the standout by a significant margin. So,
I was just
Somebody's got
curious.
to be the top.
well, interesting choice of words considering his part, but yes. Josh, I want to start with you for supporting actress, which I think is an incredibly exciting category.
Yeah, supporting actor is always one of our more interesting Oscar categories. And I know that obviously a lot of attention is now on like Anne Hathaway with the incredible year that she is having. I do think another one who's having a good year, Penelope Cruz. I think more so for The Invite, having not seen La Bola Negra, but it just seems like The Invite is more likely. Another one, good year, Sandra Hüller, who has a lot of different options. I do think Project Hail Mary is still going to be very, very popular, and she's got that one really great scene in it, and I think that's going to be a big hit for her. And yeah, I do think we've got options from Wild Horse 9 as well. I don't really know which one to go with at this point, but I think either one could be in there. And is there also a supporting player from La Bola Negra? Did I hear that as well?
Yeah, well, I mean, people are
Penelope
going to
Cruz.
want Glenn Close
And
to
close.
be that, but it's Penelope Cruz and then Lola Duenas, who is spectacular.
Yeah, Lola was the one that I heard might be
Yeah.
more of the breakout. And but then I also wonder about like Olivia Colman for her role, because I'm always going to be supportive of Olivia Colman.
And that's for Elsa,
Yes.
and that's for Elsinore.
That is Elsinore, which Focus Features picked up, and it is also making a major play this fall. So I think you're on the right track there. Sophia, what are your thoughts on supporting actress?
Yeah, supporting actress is always a fun category. I think especially here we could see a double. Like we could see the first like inclusion of this since the rule change with Penelope Cruz. I think she could get in for the invite and La Bola Negra. I think that's possible and would be just one of those weird things that could happen where she's recognized for the year and both movies are strong and she is I think for a lot of people watching The Invite, the best part of that movie. And I imagine for La Bola Negra, it's similar. It's that she has a small performance, but it's really memorable. And I think Anne Hathaway for The Odyssey, she is like, I think right now she's in my number one position just because I haven't seen La Bola Negra yet. So I'm trying to figure out what to do with Penelope Cruz in my order. But I think Anne Hathaway's performance in The Odyssey, it just, I've talked about this. It feels like an old Hollywood performance. Like it's a big role and performance for her. And I think to recognize the year that she's had too feels important. I'm just going to also say for Olivia Colman, like, I think she's in. Like, it just feels to me like I think she's going to be nominated for this. She's playing his doctor. And I just feel like that could be a role
Yeah.
that she absolutely eats up. And when she's in a movie that does well with the Academy, like she will appear. So I think that like she could, I'm like acting like she's a ghost. Like I'm going to
Like a
conjure her up.
specter.
But yeah, it's like Olivia
The
Colman will
ghost of
appear
Olivia
in
Colman.
7 days if you watch this movie. But I think the Samantha Morton thing is also interesting. I think the Odyssey will have to really overperform for that performance to be recognized, but I think she's entirely worthy. The person that I want to shout out though is Tao Okamoto for All of a Sudden. I think that she is, it's really a co-lead situation between the two of them, but I feel that they'll split Virginia Fira and Tao Okamoto into lead and supporting. I think that's already been a little bit evident with how they've been starting the campaign for that movie and where Virginia Fira is going. So I loved her performance in this and think she'd be a really incredible inclusion into this category. We've mentioned Wild Horse 9. I feel like I just need to see that really to see like who I want to put in from that movie and where the focus will be. But I think the big name that has, people have been circling is Mariana Di Girolamo. So could see her getting in here. But kind of how I see the category, I think, shaking out right now.
I'll offer my thoughts on that in a minute.
Okay.
Ryan, what's your supporting actress look like?
I have Anne Hathaway in my number one position, and I mean, I still have to see La Bola Negra, and I think Penelope Cruz is. I agree with what Sophia said. Is like as one of those people that thinks that Penelope Cruz is the best part of the invite. She's extraordinary. That movie's going on VOD, and the clips are already coming out. And I'm like, oh, I'm just reminded that she's absolutely glorious in that film. But I think Anne Hathaway is. I think she could win it. I think she's got the scene, whether you think it's funny or not. You know, she's got the scene. You know, I want Odysseus is going to play throughout the entire season, and I also just think that this is a classic supporting winner, supporting performance. It's not a lead, so you put that in. I think a lot of people have backed away from that because I think they got intel from Universal where exactly she's going to be campaigned. Maybe it's not been confirmed online, but it just kind of seems like that from the way people sort of moved their shit right back to where they needed to be. And I think that it'll be very interesting because Eric's gonna like get extremely mad this season because if Penelope Cruz is nominated twice and Anne Hathaway wins all these awards, and you're gonna have to deal with Eric, all the vote splitters and all those assholes out there that always talks about the vote
Yeah.
split and being a real thing. So we brought this upon ourselves. The Academy has brought this to our doorsteps this year. But I truly think that those three are really, I don't like to say locked, but those are pretty darn close to it. I think Sandra Hüller between Digger, between Project Hail Mary. I don't know if they're going to push her in supporting for Fatherland, if they wanted to, or whatever's happening with that film. But she's had such a big year. I don't see that she will be ignored in at least one of these categories that we'll talk about today. I agree with Sophia. Like it's Olivia Colman, and anytime she's a previous Oscar winner. She got in for The Father. She's kind of missed a couple of times since. She's
The
gonna have
Lost Daughter, she got in.
she got in for that.
Mhm.
She's also got that like wicker basket fucking film that she's got
My God, Wicker.
with Alexander Skarsgård that everybody's losing their mind over. So she will be all over the scene this year. I agree about Tao Okamoto. I mean, that's like if I had a dream, I would get her and Virginia Fira into both of those categories. I think Samantha Morton totally can get in. She's already getting profiled and already doing interviews and talking about her career and being ignored. I think she is making a strong, strong narrative. Also, I mean, she's even getting more praise than Matt Damon and Anne Hathaway at this point. She's like the most universally loved performance from The Odyssey, which is a movie that is going to do very well. Um, Scarlett Johansson for Paper Tiger. This will be the last time we talk about it, so we don't have to continue. Ain't going to happen with that wig, I can tell you that.
Again, watch out for those New York critics. Watch out.
Yeah, they're going to really try to push something. It'll be really interesting to see the female performances in Behemoth and who is the standout there. That's actually something I'm very curious about. With Olivia Wilde there, as well as
Mhm.
Ava Victor, who is in, and so we'll see with that. Obviously, Eric's going to have the more of the intel on Wild Horse 9. Whatever the hell's happening with Sense and Sensibility, we'll figure that out sometime soon. Because Katrina Balfe is definitely someone that could make it in because she didn't make it in for Belfast, and then it comes to the discussion that Focus Features also has to have with itself about Indy Never Ready. That's how you
Mhm.
say it?
Mhm.
For Obsession as to whether they put her into this category or into lead actress. Talking depends on who you talk to. Some people have said that that they think she's going in lead and supporting. I think it would be probably. I mean, it seems based off of just looking back and forth at these categories, it's open for her to get in either one at this point. She will have a campaign. It will be very interesting to see how that film plays throughout the season. If it is just a box office achievement, if it is an actual awards player, I know Focus is going to push it, but there's a lot of unknown factors with her, and a lot of unknown factors about the reception to that performance. We online know how that is, and it's a divisive one at best. Is like the nicest way to say it, but I don't know how voters are going to respond to that movie. That is a very young, skewing film, and I just don't know if the still kind of older members of the Academy are going to go for it. I still think the best day for Obsession is like a lone screenplay nomination. I still don't fully see the her getting into either category, but she will definitely be someone that's in the mix. I mean, she could go the way of like someone like Taron Egerton, which is and be that performance that gets in everywhere and misses out on Oscar, because I do think with this double
You think she's
nomination,
getting into BAFTA?
maybe. I mean, I didn't think Sinners was going to do as crazy as it did. Now, obviously, totally different film, totally different genre, totally different director, because at least Ryan Coogler had other films that had been nominated before at the Academy and various other critics groups. Corey Barker is a complete unknown in terms of like what this movie is going to do with the Academy, but um I think people are trying to come up with as many comparisons as possible to try to
Mhm.
justify whatever predictions they have. They're trying to use weapons, they're trying to use Get Out, they're trying to use Sinners, and it's like
The Substance.
the substance, and not
Sure.
all cases are the same thing. And even still with weapons, it was one nomination, and it was for somebody that the Academy had already previously nominated before and had a narrative. So it could also just be the box office cinematic achievement Golden Globe winner, and it becomes nothing after that. So it's a long season, but yeah, I mean, there's Eric. I want to hear you about the Wild Horse Nine actresses and those performances,
Yeah.
because I think
So,
that kind of
yeah.
tracks into this conversation as well, and chances for some of these dark horse contenders.
Yeah, for sure. Certainly, in the months leading up to now, if you were heavily predicting Wild Horse 9, you had two choices in this category: Parker Posey, obviously the more well known, and then Mariana Girolamo. And I even myself, without really knowledge at the time, had her very, very high. And I can say she has a really small part, much, much smaller than I thought that she was going to have. Parker Posey has just two scenes. They're played pretty much exactly the same, very frantic and erratic, very funny, but very, very brief. And I don't know, I'm feeling much less inclined with Girolamo than I was before. But I can see it. I had this image in my mind because she had her breakthrough with Pablo Larraín as the lead in Emma, and I could see a scenario in which like Lorraine does a Q&A with her in Los Angeles as a part of the campaign. I can absolutely see that happening. She's good, and she is one of the most like unbelievably beautiful people I've ever seen. But I'm not sure. I do feel less inclined. And obviously this is the category where the dual nomination thing has the most potential, as we spoke about. And I can absolutely see Cruz making it in both. It's going to be an interesting battle, I think, about how that happens. Because obviously she is the supporting female character in the invite, so there's no real conflict there. But for La Bola Negra, there are three supporting actresses of varied uh, visibility and knowledge, and obviously Glenn Close. It's a very, 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 very small part. She's lovely, but I can't imagine there would be enough for her there. And so that is where someone like Lola Duenas enters the conversation. And, it could be, I don't like making crazy comparisons, but like Roma, like Marina de Tavira, being able to make it in on the strength of the film in general. But then, we're looking at how are we going to have a category that has 2 Penelope Cruz nominations, 2 nominations from La Bola Negra. Where does
2 from the
2
Odyssey.
nominations from the Odyssey? That's where you start kind of looking at things going, all right, maybe dial it back like a little bit. I mean, I feel great about Anne Hathaway. I think she is locked and loaded there. And I don't think there's a scenario in which her going lead is very realistic for her. So I'm not really going to push that theory. Very, very, very high on Olivia Colman. So at the moment, I have Olivia Colman. I have Cruz twice. I have Anne Hathaway. And in that 5th spot is where I think things are really much more open. And it's probably where Sandra Hüller does have her success. She is a previous nominee, so not an unknown entity. And I think when you've got, regardless of where her categories are, with 4 movies that she has this year, 2 of them in non-English language, 2 of them English language. Again, it's the digger of it all. How is that movie going to play? Period. But I feel like I almost said Project Runway, and I almost do that like every time I have
do
to say
too.
that movie's name. But yes, Hail Mary is where I think people will go for her. I hope Tao Akamoto gets in, and Sense and Sensibility, as you mentioned, Ryan, now feels like what is happening with this, because I had Esme Creed Miles in very high for a very long time. I think we'll know more in a couple of weeks, but I don't know what to think about her and that film right now.
And she's also Samantha Morton's daughter. So we could have a mother-daughter nomination pair.
The way that I want that, because the last and only one that we've had is Laura Dern and Diane Ladd in different categories. So just for the sheer excitement and entertainment value, I want both of them in.
I have 2 questions. One's for Erik, then one's for the group. And quickly, because I know we got to get to the other categories. But Erik, you've seen both La Bola Negra and The Invite.
Yes.
Everybody else here has seen The Invite. If Cruz only gets in for one, which one do you think it is?
This is the thing. This is.
I know, but like, I'm putting you on the spot here. Like, if it is a crowded field and there is love for all these other performances, and the voters themselves just go, screw it, I'm only gonna vote for one place. Where do you think the most passion is? Because I think it's La Bola Negra.
Well, I do too, because La Bola Negra will be able to be a player in many more categories, and even maybe in a down ballot kind of way. And I think this is what we were talking about with The Invite is.
But that movie's
what is the true potential? Because I mean, I've seen people predicting like 3 acting nominations for it, which is not unrealistic, but it's a pretty big ask. That means it's
Rogan. I'm just kidding.
He's the only one that's kind of like obviously really not in that.
He's actually good in the film.
He is good in the film, but if you have these 3 acting nominations, you're getting in Best Picture. You are getting into director territory. Clearly, adapted screenplay is a major play for the film too. But right now, I would say if it's one or the other, that La Bola Negra would be where she gets in. And then she just gets to benefit off of the great performance in The Invite and where that will be throughout the season as well.
My other question is for the group is back to Ink, because as much as we'll talk about Jack O'Connell and Guy Pearce, Claire Foy is in this film as well. I don't believe this role is in the play. I think that this is an addition, if I'm not mistaken, written by James Graham, who did the original play. I mean, if Ink is the film becomes the big film for Netflix, could we see Claire Foy finally break into the Oscar race? We've been burned by this many times before. First Man.
I was just about to say that this feels like Lucy in the Football with Claire Foy. I don't think I can do it again.
But I'm just saying is that like if that film becomes Netflix's number one, if it pivots to that, after that's massive fall run that it's going to go on. Does she go along the ride with that film? If it's like you're talking about, Eric, some down balloting situation,
Well,
she
then
could benefit
then
from
you
that.
yeah, and but you have the situation of,
You're gonna have the material too,
we
probably.
look at these individual studios and how they'll campaign for people. And, when you have a supporting actress plays in La Bola Negra and Ink with Claire Foy, where's that going to, how's that going to play out for them? How will they Sophie's choice this if they have to?
I do just want to say one thing else before we moved on. And in regards to Samantha Morton, I am getting vibes of what happened with Benicio del Toro last year, where that was a performance where everybody walked into that movie thinking it was just going to be Sean Penn, and then suddenly people were like, "Yeah, Sean Penn's great, but you know who's also really good and my favorite performance is Benicio," and that just happened over and over and over again. And then the critics' early prizes started to go his way, and then suddenly it was just we're accepting him in this slot too. I'm getting vibes of that with Samantha Morton. I feel like they're laying that groundwork really early right now, and that Anne Hathaway is like, yeah, we all know she's going to get nominated, might even win, but man, we love Samantha Morton and how great it would be to see her back with another nomination. And I'm just getting that feeling that she could find her way as a more safe position in this category.
I agree with you, Josh. I do feel because Hathaway's had such a monster year. She's had like what 5 films. This movie, she's going to be positioned just fine. She's pretty much guaranteed a spot in. I think Morton is going to get a lot of the focus. I think what that conversation she had with Josh Horowitz on his podcast, I think that those are going to be specific SAG voting screenings just with her for the Odyssey. And I don't think that, and I think a BAFTA nomination, I definitely see happening for her.
Oh yeah.
That movie's going to do so well at BAFTA, it's ridiculous. So I just think that the Odyssey, we can't underestimate it, and I would suspect if I had to bet money on a double right now in this, it wouldn't be Penelope Cruz. It would be the Odyssey getting 2 nominations at this point, just because of I think that movie is so strong, when I wrote the piece, I'm feeling more and more likely now that it being Nolan's highest grossing film could make $1.3 to $1.5 billion. It's a massive achievement. I don't think it's going to be ignored in these categories either.
Yeah, I like that comparison, Josh. I feel like that's really smart. And they're going like early critics groups like to do that where they pick a fun performance or the one that they think, might not get a lot of love later on. And Samantha Morton totally fits that
Sophia,
bill.
that's where I think Tao Okamoto, I think that
Yeah.
she could, I think that a New York Critics
Absolutely.
Circle win is definitely on the board because I feel like
I
that movie
love
could
that
get picked up by
performance.
the critics. I mean, that's what happened with Drive My Car as well.
hmm
Is like that movie got picked up by the critics and became an awards player because of that. And so I'm hoping that that influence can be used for good. And kudo points to Josh for bringing up One Battle After Another here to get on Sophia's
It
good
wasn't
side.
one of
So,
us.
yeah,
How
Oh my
exactly.
God.
And it
surprising.
wasn't one of
Yeah.
us. Thank you,
Well,
Josh.
it's a great comparison because the supporting categories historically have the framework where you have 2 supporting performances from a film, one that has significantly more usually, and then one that has less but has a lot of passion. In both, it happens all the time. So we could absolutely see that here with the Odyssey. If Wild Horse 9 is really, really big with the Academy, and I think it actually might be.
Oh, okay.
There, what?
We'll see.
Yeah,
I'll see it soon.
it's
We'll talk.
despite it taking place in Chile and Easter Island in 1973 and government overthrow. That movie
Very
is
relevant
about here
us.
today.
But that also sounds good for the Academy too. They like something set in the
Yeah.
past, right?
There,
That's
it's. I think it's going to connect in that way. But
Well, that and
that could be a
also the UK
situation
as
where
well. Yeah.
where Sam Rockwell, with a huge amount of screen time for performance, is in, and Steve Buscemi, who I thought had very little, but has like 5 scenes. So
Good for
that's
Steve
potential.
Buscemi.
It's potential. It's there. I know we didn't mention Andrew Hayes' A Long Winter yet. I think it's still hard to kind of figure that out.
Lucy Football, All of Us Strangers.
I mean, maybe Katrina Balfe in that as well. But yeah, again, we'll know, I think, in a couple
I feel like
weeks
I heard
more.
Josh's feelings there saying that, and I'm sorry, Josh.
Yeah, that was a dagger in the heart,
That was
Ryan.
not
You should
meant
use
to
it
be
Yeah,
that
wisely.
way. It's just that
that's
we
that's
all
tough.
wanted that to happen, and it didn't. And shame on not even BAFTA. Like,
We'll get to Best Actor though in a moment, and maybe we
Yeah.
can make up
I
Yes,
for
mean
it.
that's a perfect segue.
yeah.
it is, because that's exactly where we're going next. We are going to go to Best Actor. And
Be a
first go
bloodbath.
round, Sophia, let's go to you.
Okay. So I think it looks strong right now, I will say. And I will caution everyone that last year at this time it also looked very strong before there were some things that we hadn't seen yet. And then I'm looking at you, Jeremy Allen White. There things like that always happen,
Was
right?
good in that movie.
Yes, but that movie didn't, nothing
No, but that
happened with
movie
that movie.
stunk a roo.
That's what I
Yeah,
mean. Things
yeah.
just fall off. That's what
And he
happens.
played
That's the nature
everywhere
of it.
too. Yeah.
I think so right now for me, like Matt Damon in the Odyssey just is my number one. I think that he is like this is a movie star performance in the film that I think, I have in my number one spot in Best Picture right now. So it just makes sense. Statistically, that hasn't lined up recently, but that's another story maybe for another time. So I think we have to think about Matt Damon in the Odyssey. Tom Cruise in Digger. I'm just going to say this. I just do not really care about this campaign. I know a lot of people are very excited about Tom Cruise, being back, and I do not care. So I will be approaching this from a very neutral place of not being a fan or a stan here, and just saying that if this is a movie that plays well with the Academy, absolutely, like he could get in. I think John Malkovich in Wild Horse 9 is a really strong play too. I think it would be really cool to see him back, and they do love their veterans, I think, here in this category as well. And if he's playing, if we think about Martin McDonagh's films too and how well their actors do, I mean, this could be like a Frances McDormand Three Billboards type of performance and win in places. I could see that happening. Really excited
Imagine if
about,
that pairing happens again, Sam Rockwell and the lead.
like, it could though. That's the thing. I mean, we'll see when we see Wild Horse 9, but I do feel like he is strong, and I hope that he and Glenn Close are both in Telluride so we can have a good Dangerous Liaisons pairing in the mountains. That's all I really want. Andrew Scott for Elsinore. This is the one I would say though I'm like most excited to see, aside from one more that I just forgot about. I'm a bad fan. But I think here we like what he's doing here. I think this is going to be, and Erik, I'll let you talk more about this, but I think like this connects so much to like performance, to history. It's a biopic. We have Shakespeare. We have like he's playing a person who was in Best Picture winner, right? So I think that two Best Picture winners, yes.
Mhm.
So I think that like that could be really strong. He's going to be everywhere. I think that like yes, I know that people love Obsession, but like this is going to be Focus's big like prestige play. And I think that's really important for him here. I the person I can't believe I forgot, Robert Pattinson in prime time. Love when he's doing a freaky little voice. This trailer is so exciting to me. He's playing Chris Hansen. Getting, I on Twitter compared this. I said, this is his Diana Christensen role. Like this could be his
Oh my
network.
God.
He's playing an antagonistic TV character with impeccable bone structure. Like, why
Oh
not
my
give him the
gosh.
Oscar, right? But I think there are a lot of good choices. I mean, I know I'll leave some of them for you guys to talk about too. I think Sebastian Stan, previous nominee, he could be back for Fjord. That's a very subtle performance, I think, especially compared to some of the performances that we'll talk about that are a bit louder or that seem a bit bigger. But I think if Fjord is really strong, which I think it will be, then he could definitely get in. But yeah, I'll let you guys talk about some of the other ones. But that's kind of how I'm seeing everything shake out right now.
I'll jump in next for this, and yeah, obviously Matt Damon is in just a incredible position, and he has not been nominated for a minute, and he is an Oscar winner, even though there are people who do not validate a non-acting win by an actor as a win.
Yeah, but we
But
don't give those people like any serious
You know what
consideration.
I
no,
say about that? F tier. F tier.
Yeah, it's an F
exactly.
tier
That's an
opinion. Yeah.
egregious
It's
way
an
of thinking.
egregious opinion.
Egregious.
Yeah, it's very
Exactly.
egregious.
Exactly. Said with as much,
Put it
love and
on a
derision,
t-shirt.
derision as intended. Um, yeah. So Matt Damon, yes, obviously is. I mean, if you're ranking in terms of nomination likelihood or winner likelihood, if he's not in one or two, maybe consider a different line of work. I don't know. This is pretty clear what's happening here. But Andrew Scott is absolutely the spoiler. The conversations I had this week about him and about the film were really enlightening, because one of the things in those conversations was that despite, a log line of, an actor in the 80s dying of AIDS right after making this revolutionary performance in Hamlet, sounds and feels very dark and very down and very dreary. And that was a little bit of what I think hampered Hamnet last year, is just the overwhelming sadness factor. But what I'm hearing is that it isn't that sad. It's quite joyous, and it's very celebratory and funny. So I think it being able to strike that balance, and I think Scott being very, very overdue in the sense that he's only missed, like, really one nomination, but it was a big one. But it's pretty overdue. So I think if there is a challenge to Damon, it's absolutely Scott, and it's just going to be about positioning. Because yeah, Focus Features has of other movies, but this is their actor play. There's no lead actor in Sense and Sensibility here. Michael Johnson in Obsession is not in any conversation. So this is the
Let's
this is
keep
the
it that way.
focus. I mean, it hasn't happened, so it's not going to happen. Um, but I also think that this is their number one play. This is their focus. Um, so after that, Damon, Scott, I do think Guillermo de la Fuente will be a lead performer here. If the film does gangbusters with nominations, it would be strange for him not to get in. They're pretty good about this, and he's fantastic. He also has the original song, which he co-wrote, so he could get two nominations. Sebastian Stan, you mentioned Sophia. It is a subtle performance, but it is I don't know. I think it's kind of just right. Again, the kind of topical thing that's going to hit in an interesting way, because it's not in the United States or about the United States, but it is. So I think that's going to play well, rather than something that is like directly, here's the state of how things are in the country right now.
It's a good contrast with Cruise, right? In that
Mhm.
way.
Yeah,
Because and it's not like subtle performances never get in. It's just I don't trust the branch as much. But like Renata Reinsve last year in Sentimental Value, Inga Ibsdottir Lilius, like those are very subtle performances as well. So it can happen.
very much. And I don't want to say his performance is majority English, but probably pretty close. He speaks three languages in it, so they're going to love that. And a previous nominee, which was not a surprise, but a surprise. So he's, again, a known entity. Um, I think then, because that's four, like many of these categories, number five for me is a real wide balance. John Malkovich, mentioned before. It's, oh my God, it's a fantastic performance. It's, it's, yeah, I'll just say that. It's fantastic. Um, Pedro Pascal, which we don't know really much about yet. That's Searchlight, but they also have Wild Horse 9. They're great in the past at getting lots of people in having like the number one and number two film of the year. They did that in 2017. There is potential there. So again, a couple weeks we'll know a little bit more. And then there's the Jafar Jackson of it all. Uh, a movie that's made $1 billion, but is like Bohemian Rhapsody level reviews. And I think it's going to be, I think he's going to be on the cusp. Maybe get a lot of precursors, but might struggle with at the end. But, I think part of the conversation that we haven't had yet in some of the contenders that we have talked about is the absolute whiteness of this year's lineup is pretty extreme. It's really extreme. So I can't discount the fact that the appeal of of finding performances to highlight is not going to be there, and certainly without much exception, even with the negativity with that movie, he has been able to sort of stand out. But it's a really packed category because we have Jack O'Connell. If that movie is going to be a big player and we're getting a lot of nominations, he has to be in consideration. But then we're getting into a scenario in which we have a top five of relatively all really hot actors, and we know that's not going to happen because the men in the Academy are not going to vote like that. They're going to be like, I don't know. I don't think so. So I don't know. There's a lot to think about there. And then of course also John Turturro. And with any of these categories, the ability to have narrative for a first is a lot, but not everyone can have that narrative. There's usually one or two people that really get it. So where are they going to go? I don't know.
Yeah, even with Totoro, I feel like I'm only really giving that as much consideration as I am because it's SPC. If it wasn't them, I would be very skeptical about it. But just because I know they're so great at campaigning, I have
Yeah.
him in the mix. I also feel like Gosling was in before the Odyssey. Like I kind of feel like Matt Damon has now taken the action-y genre spot. And I mean, Gosling could still maybe do it, but I just feel like that's going to go to Damon now. And I am still here thinking that Tom Cruise is going to do a lot of damage here. For me, I kind of come back to the comparison of Will Smith in King Richard, where I just felt like the whole season I kept hearing from people like that movie's mid, it's not very good, we don't really care about it, it's not exciting, and I was just like, guys, this industry loves that man. At least at that point they did, and they were just waiting for an excuse for him to make like a real movie again, and if it was just passably good, it ended up winning. And I feel very similarly. Like I do feel like at this point, sight unseen with everything, all those caveats, but the industry just loves Tom Cruise so much. And I just feel like they've been waiting for him to just not make a Mission Impossible movie for them to give him something. And if this film is if it's just not a disaster, I think everybody's going to rush into a room to be like, we want to give you an award. We're going to give you a standing ovation at every single ceremony. And if that's the only win of the movie that it'll get, then that will be the representation for the film. And I just still really believe in that narrative for him.
I mean, Critics' Choice just basically did that. They did a whole, critics group screening of the trailer and photo op with him, which is
Yeah.
Good
it's it,
Lord.
it's very funny. I'm gonna say something very mean, but it's very
Really?
funny to me.
That's
I
out of
know it's
character for
very
you.
very out of character for me. It's always funny to me when critics will kind of, you know, make fun of or be angry with influencers, but that's influencer
Yeah.
behavior, that kind of thing.
You either die a
Because
hero or you live long enough to take a selfie with Tom Cruise.
yeah, so there's that. The Tom Cruise of it all. And well, before I push it to Ryan, I am really curious about, because he clearly gave up post Magnolia. He's like, I'm not gonna, you're not gonna give me a win. I'm not gonna try and make these kind of movies anymore. Fuck you. I'm making 17 Mission Impossibles and everything else instead.
He did make a couple of like bad films, you know.
I mean, how
But
can you
nothing.
forget about Lions for Lambs? Come
Yeah,
on.
I mean,
Oh
like
my gosh.
The Last
Well,
Samurai. No one's just
see,
making that for
Valkyrie?
fun,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah,
the Mummy, sure, yeah.
yeah.
But that's what I mean. They gave up on him. He gave up on it. But he clearly, now that he has the honorary, he wants the real one. So I'll be really curious to see how that plays out. And Ryan, what do you think?
um. Well, with Cruz, I will say this about Cruz is that like I think his campaign will be derailed by himself. I don't think that the performance, people's love for him doesn't matter. I'm going to say something that's going to sound selfish and pretentious, but like for me to say that, sure, go right on ahead. I'm judging this best actor race based off who's going to be able to sit down and have a conversation with Awards Watch and do an interview, because
Here we go.
because we're on a streak of talking to the best actor winner. And I do think that there is a little bit of talking with critics, doing the junkets, doing the season. I do think that that is a part of it. I mean, even if it's 5-minute junket videos, talking, in the middle of November when your movie's already been out and everything, Michael B. Jordan did that. You know, Brendan Fraser went to all the festivals. Cillian Murphy sat down with me the day before Thanksgiving and had a conversation. That's the type of, like, Sophia talked with Adrian Brody and got a word in
I sure
edgewise,
did.
which was
Yeah.
crazy about all of that.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So
It's
like,
a fun video.
so
I'll send it to you guys.
the point is that over the last couple of years post COVID and kind of getting back into this, it is who is going to sit down and who is going to play ball and who is going to do the full dance. Because as much as like even last year with like Leo and Timmy and all these people, and yes, Ethan Hawke totally did that with Sony Pictures Classics, which is why John Turturro is like definitely still in this, because it's like if Bill Nye and Ethan Hawke can get in the same decade from the same studio, look the hell out, because it's right there. And that movie came out in Sundance and could go all the way, and we know it's going to play at some festivals, and that man is going to speak to people, and has already been, because of the summer and the Knicks and everything, he's been around already. So like, trust me, like he is going to be there the whole season. This is his chance to get into that Oscar circle. But with Cruz, that's the thing. That's like the Chalamet thing. That's like the Leo thing that they can't
I was
get over
waiting
the
for
hump.
him to get invoked here.
which is like you guys will do a certain amount of press and you will talk to a certain amount of people, but like the way Tom Cruise has avoided talking about VistaVision and its connection with like Paul Thomas Anderson, he won't sit down with somebody that actually has to talk about that in a retrospective that isn't like tailor-made specifically, that is tied up in a bow. Like he is going to talk about, he's going to star in a movie that is from Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu, which is extremely political, extremely modern, and extremely about now. And this man is like, when they say, "Hey, Tom, you love cinema?" He's like, "Yeah, I watch a movie a day," and can't get into any fucking specifics about any single one of those films. So how is he going to talk about geopolitics of the world? Because if he opens up the door about politics, guess what? He opens up into talking about being personal, and then that's when people can open up talking about Scientology, and God knows people aren't going to want to do that, and he's not going to want to do that. So I think that it is on paper an interesting idea of an Oscar campaign for Tom Cruise, but in the modern context, like you guys, here's the thing about Will Smith. Will Smith still went and did all the roundtables and still talked to people, and also was still just enough with COVID around where he didn't have to do all this. So he got out of all that and lost all goodwill, yes, after the slap and everything. But like in a modern context, I don't know if like King Richard came out this year. I don't know if he wins. I don't know. Like obviously he's, you know, those type of wins, I don't know if they exist anymore. But what I do know is that like Matt Damon's going to talk to everybody. And Matt Damon's got stories, and Matt Damon has things
He's
about his
lovely
past,
with
and
press.
he is great at doing exactly what Tom Cruise won't do, which is get freaking personal. I mean, he's doing videos on the Today Show because his neighbor downstairs is Emily Blunt. Like he's charming. He's in this industry as a producer. He's talking about his production company all the time and how things in the industry could change. I totally see that happening. Andrew Scott feels totally like the focus feature, the big player this year that can totally maybe even do a Jesse Buckley style sweep of the season.
Well, if you're talking about a Best Actor winner that is only going to win if he talks to Awards Watch, then that's great for Andrew Scott because obviously
Yeah.
I'll be talking to him.
Well,
It's
I
like,
mean,
that's the
you
pick.
talked to him for All Those Strangers, and that didn't work for him. So I think it's got to be like
Hey,
me or Sophia, is what we're trying to say here.
wow.
But
Okay,
then
now it comes out.
there it
Now I
is.
understand
Yep.
where this
There it
rant is coming
is.
Okay.
from.
But then, like,
Uh-huh.
I do think Sebastian Stan is someone that will be there that whole season. Like, that's Neon's big player. It's the Palme d'Or winner. Like, and it's a juicy role. You talk about it being quiet. It is a juicy role to talk about, and people will have so many questions and want to speak to him. Like that, those two performances, I don't see why people are having them out. Those two performances, I think, are going to totally get in. Pedro Pascal, I we need to see him be a lead in a movie first before we can talk about, I think, legitimate Oscar conversations. But if he's very good in this film, I mean, like, you know, then why wouldn't he be? Um, uh, you know, I don't know about Jafar Jackson. I don't know about um I don't know about Malkovich either. Like I'm you've seen him, but like Malkovich is very, I don't know, he's not everybody's cup of tea, and so we'll see how the general public responds to Wild Horse 9. I don't know about La Bola Negra in this category either. That feels like it doesn't feel like it's like a Lady Gaga Star is Born thing. It's like just the nomination and the song could totally be it for him. And Gosling, like last week, if you would have told, or 2 weeks ago, even, I would have said, yeah, Gosling's got a shot. And then he's now in Marvel, and he only wants to make populist films anymore. It's just like, and like I'm reading all this stuff about the Barbie sequel, which, you know, I, you guys, I don't know if you guys want my thoughts on that, but like that's another
No,
time. But like
next difference. No.
him wanting like $20 million for that, it's like, okay, you clearly are just care about getting money for your family and making hits. I don't think you really care about winning Oscars. But I think like Jack O'Connell, I think Rami Malek is still somebody that could easily be in a conversation if that movie comes out.
Well, I mean, here's what I'll say about that. Also, a movie that has not been picked up
Picked
yet.
up by anybody,
If you look at if you compare like the log lines again of The Man I Love and Elsinore, it
it's like
sounds
the
like
same thing. It's the
exactly the
same thing.
same. So
Yeah.
they're not
But then
we're
like
not getting both in.
I will say this about Michael. It's the highest grossing musical biopic of all time. Highest grossing biopic of all time.
Yeah.
He was the highlight of everyone's reviews, even like Jay's review. They gave it like a D.
Yeah.
He is so, and there will be this whole like it's Michael Jackson's nephew, he did all the dancing and all that other crap. I don't care. I think the movie is like evil incarnate, and if it like has to be nominated at the Oscars, I will be sick because there's is like a great list. But I mean, I mean the Coward Boys. What happens with them? What
Well,
happens with
that's not
Fatherland? What
happening.
happens with
No.
Brad Pitt, who played an Oscar-winning character in Cliff Booth? What happens there?
Nothing.
Well, you say nothing. Who knows
Fingers
what
crossed,
happens with that?
nothing.
What happens with
Nothing.
Adam Driver and Paper Tiger? These. It's a very stacked category. That if after these fall festivals, like Sophia said, a bunch of performances start to premiere and they do not connect, then it'll be interesting. But like Cruise and Digger, to go back to that, and this would be the big conversation, is like they are going the theatrical run. That movie is not going to make shit at the box office. I'm just going to call it right now. That movie is like what, $175 million budget or whatever it is. That movie, no one's going to see it. No one. I can tell you. Like,
They could. I
no,
mean,
you think it's going to
I
make its? Do you think it would make even its money back?
Yeah,
I
but One
think
Battle
that
didn't.
Yeah,
It
but it's
doesn't
still.
have to.
yeah. If it's just
It
seen as
does
like
this year. It no, it's different. It's different.
oh
That's a totally
so
different
it's
thing.
different when it's not a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Okay.
No,
Hmm.
Josh.
You no, you're right.
It's
You're right,
not. It's
Josh.
not. It's not because Warner Brothers had massive hits throughout their entire year. Warner Brothers has been very inconsistent this year. Also, there wasn't an overdue narrative for Alejandro Gonzalez Iñárritu the way there was for Paul Thomas Anderson. Those
There
are
is
two
one for
totally
Tom
different.
Cruise.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing. He's supposed
What
to
do
be
you mean it's
Minister.
not the same thing?
He's
There is
supposed
an
to be.
overdue narrative for
Okay,
Tom Cruise.
Josh.
What are you talking about?
Is Paul Thomas Anderson considered Mr. Box Office and the
I'm
one
not
that brought
saying that
cinemas
it
back? Oh, no, 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 no. You want to throw it back at me? Let's throw it back at you, Josh, about like somebody being a box office person. And if they flop, then that will hurt their Oscar chances. You can't then say he's the savior of cinema if he can't get people in the cinemas
that
to
is
see Digger.
absolutely he still has the perception that he is one of the most bankable Hollywood
Okay.
actors.
And if it
And
fails,
like
what happens?
well, what are you talking about with failure, though? Are you talking about like a huge flop? Or are you talking about just like, well, I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to do that. I don't think so. I mean, I think it will be in the zeitgeist in the way that something like Don't Look Up was, a movie that I do not like, but was very popular with
It
people.
made
And
no
I
money.
think,
Made no money
well,
because it was a
but it was
streaming.
popular. It got into Best Picture.
It's $125 million. Sorry. It's $125 million budget. I don't see it making that.
I think it will be
Internationally, it
enough.
will.
Yeah.
It will.
I think Tom Cruise
I
is
mean, the
still
Mission
perceived.
Impossible movie didn't even make its money back.
Yeah, but then even with Mission Impossible, though, like you can make the argument of that movie cost so much because he kept everybody on production during COVID and didn't shut it down. So he
Yeah.
was still being a champion of like people in the industry still love Tom Cruise. And I think they've also sort of accepted all of his weird personal stuff because they know he is a valuable commodity within the industry. They love that man. And I think that if Digger clears a relatively low bar, it will be so easy for people to be like, yes, welcome back. We love you so much. Here's your Best Actor Oscar that you should have had for a while now. Like, I just think it's a very easy lane for him to clear.
I
And I say
am
that as
not.
somebody who's not rooting for it. Obviously, I don't want to
Yes.
root for an Iñárritu movie, but I
I
just see what's in front of me, and it's like, yeah, this makes total sense for it to happen.
I think that perspective is why it feels more accurate,
Verity
honestly.
will make more money than it.
Well, Verity's Colleen Hoover, so yeah.
Yeah. Verity will make more money than it. I'm not worried about it. It ain't going to make nothing.
All right. Speaking of Verity, let's talk about actresses because I am
Yes.
over the best actor conversation. Let's talk
Goodbye
about
to the men.
actresses.
Yeah.
Exactly. Goodbye. Sorry to those men.
Yeah. Andrew Scott, you're an exception, though.
Yeah. Josh, actually, I want to start right off with you as our resident best actress. Everything, all encompassing. Well, what do you look at this category as? Because it's kind of wild.
It is. I really do not have a great handle on this category right now. It is very all over the place. I feel like whatever, like 5 or 10 or however many you have in the mix right now, they all seem like valid options. I really don't know where to go. I have like hunches that feel like sort of good to me, like Julianne Moore in the debut. That feels like it's very likely. I do feel like Renata Reinsve, previous nominee, she's in the club. That movie I suspect will be very popular, so I could see her. I do think Indy Navarrete, like she's young. They do like the young actresses in here, and that movie is just such a cultural force. And if I think the critics are behind her too, as I imagine they probably will be, it might be just enough to keep her in the conversation. Like I don't think she's winning, but like that character is also like really iconic too. It's in the culture at the moment, and I think that can go a long way. I think that I wonder about Leia Sadu in Gentle Monster, which I think is going to get a big push from Netflix, and she's another one, an actress that's been working very consistently, and I could see that breaking through. I don't know how Rose will do for Sandra Hüller, but again, with such a big year that she's having, and this is like a lead push for her. She won at Berlin, right, for that performance. So I think
Yeah.
that's another one that could really get in there. Cynthia Erivo, I don't know about that movie, but I think that I just think that a previous nominee, you can't discount
I
her
mean, she couldn't get
completely.
in for
Oh
Wicked
no,
2.
I'm only saying it because it's one of those that has no distributor yet. So if it doesn't get something from
Sure.
TIFF, it's hard to see that.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
who's she gonna do the press with this year for that
Oh
trailer?
my gosh.
Okay.
We're not doing that. No, no.
That's also it's a Tony and Olivier winning role too.
Yeah, Jodie
It is
Comer,
meaty. She won't have it's not going to be a one woman show in the same way that the
the
play
Dracula
is,
one
but
is.
no, in the same way
Oh,
that Prima
well, no,
Facie
she's doing
was.
a Dracula one
No, I
woman
know,
show. That's what I'm just saying.
I know. I'm just
Yeah,
saying it's yeah.
I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, th this category has a lot of potential, but it's also very like ill-defined for me at the moment, and which is a good thing. I like that. It means that there's a lot of room for opportunity right now. But at the moment, I do feel a little lost at sea. And well, as I said, it's sort of a good and bad thing. You know, it causes anxiety, but it means that the ceiling is just really high for a lot of these performances.
I think so too. Sophia, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I it's really similar to where we were last year because I'm thinking of, a lot of pundits like to say Best Actress is weak early on, but it's mostly just because people haven't seen the films or the performances yet. And I don't think we can, say that until we know. But for me, Julianne Moore is in the first position. This is like if I think when we think about, a path to winning a second Oscar, like she feels like someone who should have one. And just again, based on the trailer and what we do know about this film, this seems like the type of performance and role that you can win your second Oscar for. And I feel like that narrative could really start to take shape for her as early as festival season really starts. And this movie will be everywhere. There is also no one nicer in the industry. Like we talk about, I mean, like the reception of Tom Cruise and everything, but like Julianne Moore has an incredible reputation and is lovely. And I think, then we can talk about some of the non-English language performances too. I think Renata Reinsve's in. I think Fjord is strong, and this is a heartbreaking, beautiful performance. In Best Actress, they've always been more likely to go with performances like that in international performers than some of the other acting categories. So I think we could see her. I'm really going to be pushing for Virginia Fira, who I actually think could have a Wagner Moura type run. She obviously doesn't have the same level of popularity that he does, but she did win Best Actress at Cannes. She just won a tribute or got a tribute at Locarno. So she's going to be around and on the circuit. And this is the type of performance where, like, I think this film will really hit a lot of people. It'll be big with critics. And I can't imagine myself loving a character this much. Like she is just like the most like there's so much to her where you can't like you leave the film just thinking about how wonderful this woman is. And she learned to speak Japanese. She's like seamlessly going back and forth between French and Japanese. And she is just, I think, alongside Tao Okamoto, like they are just the heart and soul of that film. So I think she actually has a really good shot. The critics just need to really push her. I also think Olivia Wilde has an amazing shot at getting in for the invite because one of the things that I just wrote about actually that you can read about very soon is that she could make Oscar history and be the first woman to ever direct herself to an Oscar nomination for acting. That's never been done before. And I think that kind of narrative could really catch on. She also, I think, whether you like Penelope Cruz's performance or Edward Norton's performance more, she's the face of the invite. She's going to be out everywhere. And the way that she talks about directing the film, like her performance still comes up. And I think that's really important. So those are honestly, like, those are the performances like I can really see. I think Sandra Huller for Rose is a great option. I think Cynthia Erivo, I just want to see what happens with that film. But on indie, Navarette and what's going on with Obsession, I everybody knows I'm not a fan of this movie. However, I do think she is the best part of the movie, and she acts circles around everybody else who seems like they're stumbling out of an improv class, a first timers improv class at times. And I think that she is actually, she has scenes where she really commits. And I think that she will be winning a lot of breakthrough performer awards throughout the year. She'll be on people's minds. It really is just like, I think that movie has a really, like, it has a low ceiling. It's going to, and I don't think that the comparisons, like we've talked about before, I don't think the comparisons to other horror films that have been in the Oscar race work. Because I think anyone who, and I know this is not going to sound nice, but anyone who's comparing her to Amy Madigan discovered who Amy Madigan was last year. And I think like that is just, it's just not an accurate comparison to make. But like I think this is the type of performance that could have a lot of passion. It's just like, will she be able to sustain that for the whole year? Because what's coming is we have all of these women who, like, people haven't seen these performances yet, and people haven't fallen in love with these performances yet. And they could, right? They really could with Virginia Fira or Renate Reinsve or Julianne Moore. They all feel like very sympathetic characters too. And that's something that, for better or for worse, is really important in Best Actress. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of potential here. But I think that's where I am right now on it. I think Lea Seydoux, yes, Netflix will have her for a Best Actress push for Gentle Monster. That movie, though, I, I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Ryan, what's your take on Best Actress right now?
I know we didn't want to say anything about best actor anymore, but I agree with Sophia about Primetime. I think Pattinson could get nominated and he would win.
Robert Pattinson, interview with AwardsWatch, please.
Yeah, I think he could totally do it. Maybe we don't publish it, but that's beside the point. And it's giving Nightcrawler vibes, but maybe get nominated this time. Anyway, so Best Actress.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Keep it up. Keep it up, Brian.
I think that this is, I hate to say sight unseen that I think this is already done, but I think we're about to make Josh's life very, very easy this year. I think Julianne Moore is going to win this Oscar. Sight unseen, just from the trailer alone, I'm like, this feels like she's going to win a second. And she's the type of actress that totally feels like she could have a second win. And based off of what Eric's heard and what other people have told me, this is like the movie for A24. This is going to be one of the big ones of the fall. I agree with Sophia about Renate Reinsve for Fjord. I think that is again, along with Sebastian Stan and the rest of that movie, when people go to Telluride and they go to Toronto and they go to New York, this will be the movie that people will be it will be the passion, hot ticket that people want to go to and see because it's the Palme d'Or winner, because it's a thorny film and it has things for people to discuss. It's very much the Anatomy of a Fall vibe, but it's in an election year and it's very political and topical. I think, yeah, Sandra Hüller could definitely get in for one of those two. Probably, I guess, more Rose at this point than Fatherland. Who knows? But like Josh said, it's probably more likely she just gets nominated in the supporting categories than anything else. I don't know what to make of Daisy Edgar-Jones, and I'm not going to make a comment on that. And Mikey Madison, I'm not going to make a comment on that. Love that you got that Oscar, Mikey, because you ain't getting another one for this. I think that it will be very interesting because, as Sophia mentioned about Lea Seydoux, a fine performance in a bad Netflix movie now, and just truly I'm telling you guys, just watch the trailer and listen to that stupid song that's in like the first 30 seconds of it, and that is like the annoyance of the rest of that movie. I just don't think it's going to happen. Good for Lea Seydoux, and also she has The Unknown, which is a bad movie, so like just not a really like great year for her. But I would actually be surprised and curious about Possible Love and the actresses from that film, and seeing how that is received at Venice and how that that'll go to Toronto and then New York, and how that film could turn into the surprise, because every year Netflix has a film that they have upon their slate, and then it builds up love and admiration from the film festivals, and then it actually becomes their number one film after they like recalibrated things past AFI. And I think that could be possible love for them this year. And so there's that. I mean, Virginia Fira, every day it's feeling like she's stronger and stronger to get in there. And then, yeah, I mean, looking at the category, Sophia, I might have to take back everything I said about Indy, because she probably is more likely to get in here because the supporting actress field is deeper there. I think she should be in supporting, but that's category and placement and all that stuff. I think if she gets in though, I mean, again, she's got scenes. People are championing for her. It's like a performance that was hailed even by its detractors, like Sophia, like you just mentioned you don't like the film. I know you don't like the film, but you can't deny that like it's a very physical performance. It's
I'd
a very
rather her
loud
get
performance.
nominated 10 times before Curry Barker got a Golden Globe nomination.
Well, I mean, yeah, sure,
But also,
Um,
she's not doing a lot of the physical. There's a ballet dancer doing that the same way that that was the case for Natalie Portman in Black Swan.
Sure, but they gave all the credit to her. They didn't give it to the,
Mhm,
they didn't,
absolutely.
and but she's also not Natalie Portman. Like that's the other thing too. I know, Eric. I'm just saying, like, we have to be. I'm being careful with any comparisons with this thing because of the fact that like it's its own entity, it's its own thing, because it's a small film. It's made for, what was it, $500,000, and
750, yeah.
750, something like that, and it's made 400 and something $million, and it's
5, yeah.
it's a great success story from a box office standpoint, but in terms of an awards player, it's a very unknown property. It just it has a player in the race that got 3 nominations in this category last year. So Focus Features did a great job last year of getting those actresses in, but we're talking about actresses that are named Jessie Buckley, Emma Stone, and Kate Hudson, who are known people, so it's.
I forgot about Emma Stone. I was like,
That just
who's the
hurt me.
third? Yeah, no,
So,
that was Emma Stone.
and Josh, you want me to ding, one battle after another? I'll do it right here. It was at the cost of somebody new in the fold, and that was for a film that was the Best Picture winner in an award season juggernaut.
Though I will,
but that's
also say that
a person of color versus a white. I mean, Indy
well,
River is Latino,
well, then,
but it's
But she was also like, Chase was a newcomer in a sea of very well-established veterans in that movie.
Correct.
Indy is the breakout star of her film and the singular thing nearly that everybody is talking about. There's a screenplay nomination that could happen too, but really the story of Obsession is her performance in it.
I agree. I totally agree with you. I'm going to name a name that Eric told me not to name like a while back.
Oh God.
And I still think it could happen because Josh just mentioned about like being in a field full of, other contenders, winners.
Are you going to say Meryl Streep?
I'm going to say Meryl Streep for The Devil Wears Prada too.
I thought you were going to say Jessica Lange for A Long Day's Journey into Heaven.
Talk about the Lucy and the football.
But yeah, that's for real. But I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the Golden Globe nomination is definitely happening.
I mean,
okay,
sure. Congratulations.
She's
with that.
It's been a long time since Meryl's been nominated. She's going to get nominated again at a certain point. It's a weak year. If you look at these people that are in the lineup,
I don't think we know that yet, though. That's what I'm saying.
Where is Sense and Sensibility? What fall festival is it going to? Put an Amber Alert out for this thing, man. We can't find this damn thing. Okay. Like we don't know about the social reckoning and what's going to happen there. We don't even know if Fatherland is if people are going to like that, or Rose, if they're even going to see it. Like most of these films that we've talked about, we're assuming. You know what they have seen, and you know who they do like? Meryl Streep. You know who people love? Meryl frickin' Streep. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. But if you look at Erik's board, like, yeah, it's the 22-time, 3-time winner is right there. Like, they've nominated her for less, and this movie made a crap ton of money. I wouldn't be shocked by it, folks. Like, it's been a long time since she's been nominated too. Like, that's got to factor in
Okay.
there. Who wouldn't want to
All
see her
right.
and Marty Short there at the Oscars? Like, she'd be in the
Okay.
front row. You know, it's more likely than freaking Scarlett Johansson or Cynthia Erivo that doesn't have like even a distributor, or like Erik's list here has Penelope Cruz for Bunker. Get the hell out of here. Like, that's not happening.
That's
Like,
in the next
Wow.
subsection. Don't try and defame me.
But Meryl
How
Streep's
dare you?
But Meryl Streep's in this section, and I'm saying,
Yeah,
like,
because that's where she belongs.
I mean, you got Zendaya for the drama. That ain't happening.
Yeah, she
Like,
should be in the conversation.
Marion Bailey for Tender Loving Care. That's Bleecker Street. They're out
God,
of
Ryan, you are so
they
good
run out
at
of
baiting
pizza.
people into arguing with you. God, you are
I'm
just
Well,
just
it's
so
saying.
good
easy
at
to
it.
do because Ryan's takes are so batshit that you're like,
No,
what
this
is
is my
going
process
on?
of elimination. Like,
I'm just
No,
sitting
you-
here silent laughing.
you
'cause I
trust
just-
You just-
Bleecker Street with a Mike Lee film? Like, good luck with that. Like, we've been there, done that.
listen. You wanted to end your best actress predictions with Meryl Streep, so that is
Oh my
great.
God.
That's
The
great.
great Meryl Streep. I mean,
I'm-
okay, then you guys just don't like
I'm
Meryl
glad-
Streep.
No, I
Glad
love
you
Meryl
did.
Streep. I've
Mhm.
made that clear many times. This could be number 22 for her. Why
I thought
not?
it was number 23.
She has been
Listen.
nominated 21 times.
Okay.
For
Yeah,
it's
Oscars.
Number
21.
22.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay,
Good.
but yes, to Josh's point, congrats on that Golden Globe nomination. Absolutely, that's
She
But
can-
to be fair,
100%.
not to give Ryan too much here. If people were predicting Ariana Grande last year for Wicked for Good
Mhm.
because
Yeah,
she
remember
was
how that-
nominated for the
Remember when
first
she
one,
won for that?
why
Oh,
not predict Meryl for the second one?
Yeah.
You know?
okay. This is
It's
the
Meryl Streep.
the train is off the tracks right now. Not even
right.
RuPaul could
Sophia
control
gets
this
it.
train.
Sophia gets it.
Stop
Yeah.
that
All right,
train.
all right.
Stop
Can I
that
Yes,
actually,
train.
please.
there's one more person I want to just ask the opinion about. Because speaking of somebody else that has a really good year shaping up, Zendaya.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I look at the drama, like obviously it's a movie that came out pretty early, but it was a pretty good hit. And
Yep.
I do genuinely wonder if like that's another one, like a Golden Globe nomination, maybe Critics' Choice, maybe SAG, and like enough places where, you see her pop up. And as I said, given just the totality of the year that she has had, also another one of our bona fide movie stars. And also we're talking about the conversation about Oscar So White. That's a place that you can look to if you want to be cynical about it. Like, she's not in like a high in my predictions right now, but considering that she is definitely like established as one of our stars, our young stars right now, I do wonder if maybe there's room for her to make a case for that film because it did very well at the box office.
It did, and she certainly is going to kind of be everywhere in the sense that she has, two giant blockbusters right now.
And she'll have Dune at the end of the year too to promote.
Yes, 3. So she'll have 3 blockbusters, which is pretty impressive. But okay. I'll wrap up with my thoughts on this category because outside of Julianne Moore, definitely I think the front runner here. In my last month's in my top 5, I had 3 non-English language or primarily performances in, which feels very unrealistic, and then another with Virginia Fira right there. And even though I think we have clearly seen a group like SAG is not going to be very friendly to this, but then the Academy sort of turns that on its head, and then we do get to see these performances get in. I think any combination of Renata Reinsve, Lea Seydoux, Virginia Efira, Sandra Hüller is going to make the cut. Whether it's 1, 2, or 3, I don't know. 2 seems like a pretty safe bet. 3 is possible, but as we have had this conversation, in looking at this and looking at where a voter might want to go, as much as I don't want to say this, mostly maybe because it's not that I care that much about being right and wrong, but sometimes I do. But I think if you are looking at a lineup that is a lot of non-English language performances or even non-American performers, that is how somebody like Indy Navarrete can get in. There can be an appeal to that group of voter, and to a way to kind of bring somebody into the circle. There's also, and one of my core issues really with the film and with Nikki as a character being never having a POV and everything happening to her. I'm sort of two minds of that, because we have heard obviously tons of male directors and actors talk about the movie and how much they like it and the success of it. Granted, if the movie hadn't made the money it had, nobody and none of them would be talking about it. If it made $50 million, it wouldn't really have mattered to anybody. What we haven't heard really a lot of is female artisans and actors talk about the movie, and Navarrete. That they haven't either been asked or they haven't offered an opinion. There's something interesting about that as a thing, but also too, when I think about Best Actress a lot in the sense that the majority of Academy members are still male. They are still older. And without trying to put any type of shine on this, they do vote for characters that suffer pretty horrible indignities. And there's something about that isn't about performance, but there's a very despicable nature in men to see and almost enjoy it. And that's part of what I think is a core issue for some people with the movie, and that is the zero amount of autonomy for her, and I think there is still a section of male voters in the Academy that will gravitate to it for the wrong reasons, whether it's like Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Rooney Mara and that horrific rape. And again, Jodie Foster in The Q's, a horrific rape. There is something that happens with a certain type of voter that is less about performance. I think there are voters obviously who see an actress commit and go through that experience on film and appreciate the wherewithal that actress has to be able to perform that. That's a big part of why we have a lot of actress nominations that do get in for characters that suffer sexual assault. That becomes part of men don't get nominations for that. They overcome whatever obstacle they have, and it's not of a nature like that. But for women getting in, it's a pretty common trope for that to happen. So I don't know if I'm talking myself into Navarrete being able to get in, but I think I can see.
Sounds like I'm talking you into Meryl Streep.
I can see a path of 3 different reasons why she can.
Well,
I think. Sorry. Sophia,
you're
go
right.
ahead.
I mean, you're right about this, and it's interesting. I think that like this is a movie that a lot of men do really like, and I think that it's also there's something weird that's happened with this movie, and I haven't really talked about this on any podcast, but people are assigning a feminist narrative to the movie, which Curry Barker himself does not speak about or seem to believe in. And he just hasn't been clear about that. And I don't think he will be, because I think he set out to make a different kind of film than the one that people are giving him credit for in some cases. And I think that there are some men in the academy and elsewhere who love women that they want to hook up with, women that they think they could save, and women that are being subjected to violence. And she does check all of those boxes. It's that doesn't take anything away from her performance, which I think again is the best part of the movie. But I do think when you're seeing men and fans of this film go way above and beyond talking about their praise for her, you do have to wonder how much that is actually a part of it.
And
So it's tricky.
that's all I was really trying to say. And
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that is the right answer, but
Right.
it is a perspective where I am trying to look at all the variables that are involved with her character outside of the performance, which I do think is a good performance and insanely committed. But it's just part of the conversation.
I mean, I will say that I saw the film back at South by before it obviously became this box office thing. And I think anytime a movie starts making money like this and people start seeing it, it can build a reputation. It can build like the sense of like, why did that make so much money and why did it not? Because my wife saw the film and she's like, that's it. That was all that this movie was. And same for Jay. And certain people can get overhyped, and then some people go way over extension with their praise on it. When I saw it, Curry Barker hadn't spoken, and I thought it was a pretty um and I'm and they kind of think he had.
Sorry, I'm just laughing like Curry Barker hadn't spoken.
Yeah, he hadn't spoken yet. But
Didn't you give it an A in your review, Ryan?
I did, and
Yeah.
and I thought that the film was a pretty massive indictment on a generation that supported the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And I looked at it as this massive, nasty, Gen Alpha, Gen Z examination at the men and how they perceived women. And as a millennial who in our generation, was for the most part not, more liberal than it is conservative, I thought that the film was doing that. I have since not either seen Barker be asked specifically or he has shrugged it off. I don't think that someone's actually sat him down and actually dived into it. And he's kind of done a little bit of what some people got mad with Zach Kreger last year, which was that Zach Kreger, though Kreger was a lot smarter, I thought, with Weapons and its themes, and saying that this is a movie about grief and this is a movie about all those things. And if an audience wants to take whatever they out about, gun violence or whatever the case may be, then I didn't necessarily have that on the mind, but I'm glad that that's up for interpretation. And I think Barker's like, no, I had like the Simpsons episode thing was like an influence, and I'm like, I've had this and that, but I don't think anyone's actually like sat him down and talked about the film, nor talked to her about how she sees Nikki, or even what is it, Michael Johnson sees Bear, and I think that as much as I've liked the film, it's I have not had the feeling to want to go back to it, because I think that it is now been proven to be exactly what I didn't what it's not what I not what I thought it was. And I was actually pretty sickened this week by the Universal Hollywood Horror Night, and kind of trying to play the logistics of how you would have that character presented at a at a Hollywood theme park like that, based off of how the character is looked in the film, because she's the victim in the film and Bear is the villain, and yet the marketing of that suggests like, Freaky Nikki, as they call the character on, is the actual monster. And I think that mismessaging could be a backfire on Obsession down the road, when more female critics and more people have larger Q&As and conversation, because that's actually the thing that could hurt Obsession, is its continuance in the dialogue and conversation, and the continuance of its creator to have to continue to speak. And he doesn't know how to articulate well enough on this film, or at all on this film. And so I think that that could then fall on her shoulders potentially. But then also, to your point, Eric, they don't give a shit because they nominate people left and right in these categories for a history. Like, look at, it's not a rape scene, but like the explicit sex in something like Honora, and then the explicit sex in something like Poor Things. The even the substance, like these are performances that they are not, even in a modern context, unafraid to go near. So
Promising Young Woman is
Promising Young
another.
Woman is another
Yeah.
one. And I'm not going to get into that one here,
Mm-mm.
but it's definitely in that kind of conversation about its thorniness and whether or not the creator knows what the hell they're doing when they're trying to spin something that's being presented as more of a genre exercise. But then once you get into an award season, it has to stand on its themes and on its morals. And I think that that's then a very hard thing for creatives to do. Like, I don't think Cory Barker thought he was making a $500 million hit when he was making this thing. But now that's the other thing, is we're having to like now put him up to the same morality test that we're asking Christopher Nolan with his themes in the Odyssey.
He
So
broke
it's
the one wish willow. He has to deal with it.
exactly, like it is difficult. I will say, I think her performance is fantastic, and I thought that since I've seen it. But
Yeah, you said it's one of the best of the year.
it is one of the best of the year. I
Yeah.
still stand by it. I think it is a great breakthrough performance, and she gives it
Yeah.
all, even within the limitations of the rest of the film.
Yeah.
And if she got in, I mean, that's a whole other conversation, because this is also going back to a little bit of the Everything Everywhere All at Once stuff, where I'm like, this is a South by movie. I don't see this as an Oscar film. And I know people get mad when I say that, but I'm like, I saw this at South by when there were like 2 days of not really any good movies, and I gave it that grade. Definitely too high now, upon retrospect, but we've all done that. You know what I mean? We've all done
Well, I
that
mean, it
here.
is interesting that it premiered at TIFF last year. Very quiet.
Very quiet.
It wasn't like
But
what
Focus picked it up and
ended
did
up happening to it. Yeah.
but Focus picked it up and did a great job marketing it. And that screening, I'll tell you, and the thing that's troubled me about Obsession since is that screening, when we walked out, we were silent, horrified, um, just like kind of like overwhelmed. And audiences have taken this to be a comedy. And Barker has stated that there's comedic elements to it. And from when I have seen it only one time, I have never thought that this movie is funny. And I am still baffled that anyone would, given the content of the film. It is a hard film. That's why I have a hard time believing an Academy member, a modern Academy member, would go even this far, because it is very far that this is pushing it, I think, by the end of this film. Even more than Promising Young Woman, I think.
It does push it really far, but I do think Barker believes it's a comedy. Like, I think that the way he directs the film, like there are certain scenes where he wants, like, it's almost like a laugh track should be there with the way that the camera is moving. And my theater reaction was just completely different, where it was like I was at an open mic night that was actually funny. Like, people were, I mean, like hooting and hollering. Like, it
Oh
was
yeah.
it was
All
crazy.
the cat stuff was played for comedy, which removed the like horror of it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
And she'll
Yeah, I
run
think
in
that
comedy, I'm sure.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think that movie has moments where, like, a lot of horror does this, where it presents a horrific setting, but it's so over
Yeah.
the top that the kind of tension break reaction for yourself is to laugh at it, because, like,
Yes.
that's why I actually think like horror comedy generally works well for me, because I think those two reactions do work together. But I just think that the movie itself has just made such a big impact on the culture right now. And we can squirm a bit about her, like, yeah, being at like the horror nights at Universal, but you got to be a recognizable figure if you're going to do that. You have to be somebody who is a character that is walking down the street and it's like, yeah, I instantly recognize who that is. And yeah, I don't think like the weapons comparison is complete one to one, but Aunt Gladys became a character that people knew. And, yes, Amy Madigan was an established person, but I do think the perception of the role that she played and how significant it was also a big help. I mean, Conan opened the ceremony
Mhm.
dressing as Aunt Gladys. So, and I think that
Oh
in and
God, please don't
already,
let that happen this year.
yeah, well,
Oh, I
yeah,
don't.
I
I
would
don't think
try
he'll.
not to to do that, but
I
but
think
I
he'll
do think it
dress
just
as
means that
Digger, if anything. Not
we'll
less.
see. But because the character, the role in that movie has made such an impact, I think that already goes such a long way in convincing people like this is a movie we should take more seriously and a performance we should take seriously. And I do think that maybe if they shift the conversations about that character and that role away from Barker, who I'm sorry, like every time he shows up with those stupid glasses, I just can't take him seriously at all. Like, give most of it to her. I think that's the play that they should probably go with. And I can see it being more successful if you hear it from her and her perspective on this character. And then it becomes, whether you want to believe it or not, it's, her voice, her talking about it, her empowerment. And I think that plays into her campaigning for the Best Actress category.
Yeah, but on the Conan thing, if you don't think that he is going to enter the Dolby in the Trojan Horse, that's what's going to
Yeah,
happen.
there it is. That's too.
There
Yeah.
it
That's
is.
That's what's happening.
yeah.
All
Wait,
right,
wait.
let's
He is
what?
confirmed, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah, he's
okay.
he's hosting
I
again.
couldn't remember it actually this morning before we did the show. Like that's how out of touch I am with who's the Oscar host. You know what I mean? So
Well, that was a very spirited conversation, as I was expecting it to be, which is why it's always great to have Josh on here. So I
wait.
want to close. No, I want to close, Ryan. I'm closing, asking each of you what your
Okay.
single most anticipated movie for the rest of the year is.
Oh, that wasn't what it was going to be. I didn't know if you wanted us to stamp our prediction
Nope,
right now.
nope.
Okay.
Ryan, you go first.
Oh my God. I go first. It's Behemoth from Tony Gilroy. Like I'm excited about that. I've been we over here support the wonderful masterpiece that is Michael Clayton and have ever since it came into theaters. Andor's great. Even will stand up for Duplicity. Even will like slightly defend his Born Legacy film.
Okay.
So like I think Gilroy
All right,
rocks.
let's do this within limits now.
Okay, calm down there, Spectre. Like, like we all have our films that we stand up for. You know what I mean? I love you,
I,
Josh, but like let
an
me have
hour
it.
of that movie, I
Yeah,
do.
there you go. But point is
Okay.
that I'm excited for this. I've heard nothing but great things. I can't wait to see it in New York. And I'm not lying when I say like I genuinely want to see what it is like to have Pedro Pascal in a lead role because in a film because like we have not been able to really have that and I think he's a good actor, but like this will actually like give him a like an actual role to be able to do. And this was supposed to be Oscar Isaac, Pedro Pascal, replaced him, and I need him to be in like good in a lead role because we're going to see this in the Todd Haynes film soon. So like,
Oscar Isaac was supposed to be the lead of Wild Horse 9 too. So
and who replaced him? Was it Malkovich or
Malkovich, and then it was going to be Ruffalo in supporting.
okay? I would have like 1000% seen that movie.
Would have been very interesting.
Would have been really.
Okay, Josh, what is your number one you're looking forward to?
I know.
Well, I'm going back and forth actually. Okay, you know what? I'm actually going to say Elsinore because I think just for Andrew Scott, I know it was
It was
tough.
one of the, it was one of the two, man.
Yeah, you know what the other one was. It was
It's
one
either
of
that
those
or Andrew
two.
Hay.
Yeah, it was between those two, but I do just think I need Andrew Scott avenged, and I think that that sounds like a really good part for him, and I can't wait to see what I imagine will be a fantastic performance. And yeah, we need to get him nominated because I'm still hurt from 2023, so we need to rectify this.
Oh, Josh, I love you so much. This is why I love having you on. Sophia, what is your number one looking forward to?
I mean, there's so many, and it's hard because like last year one battle reference. It was so easy for me to pick. I was like, this is the only movie I'm like, I really just need to see now. But there are so many and directors I love who are back. But I have to say La Bola Negra because so many people keep telling me I'm going to like this movie, which I know is very dangerous. Like I don't want to hype myself up for it too much, but
I'm very guilty of that.
it's okay. I love maximalism and I just everything I've heard from this, I just feel like I will really like. And just I don't know, I'm just excited to see what it's about. And I the images I've seen from it have so many like great art history references that are just like totally catnip for me. So yeah, I can't wait to see it.
Eric, will I like it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I hope so. If you don't, that's
I'm
that's
fired.
on you. That's on you.
Netflix won't invite
I'm
me to the party anymore if I don't like it.
I'm so glad that Josh said Elsinore because that was going to be my pick anyway. That's a pretty easy pick for me. Me picking the game movie, shocking, truly,
Yeah.
groundbreaking.
It's actually, it was like,
And,
no,
and La
Eric's gonna
Bola
pick
Negra was up there for me too. So
Yeah, and that's I can't wait for
What's your
everybody
least
else to see
anticipated
it.
film of the season?
Oh, that's fun.
Oh my God. Honestly, probably either Artificial or Social Reckoning.
Social Reckoning is a good answer.
You're like dreading seeing Artificial?
Yeah, I have a lack of faith, really, more than anything.
In Luca? Or the subject matter?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a little bit of both. But see, I did also like After the Hunt, but I'm not keen on where he is going as a director. I want him to go back. I want more I Am Love, Call Me by Your Name. His Queer was great.
Yeah.
And then something happened. It was just like, this is weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You guys know what mine is.
Avengers in Doomsday?
Yeah.
Oh God. I wasn't even putting those into my radar.
Absolutely. But otherwise, like if it's something we've, mentioned loosely today, it's Clara and the Sun.
Oh yeah.
That's not a real movie though.
I probably won't see because of my allergy to Taika Waititi.
No, you won't need to see it. And you won't get to because it's not playing anywhere.
I mean, you might not have to see it though.
Wait, least anticipated, honestly though, I'll do hot take. It's Dune Part 3.
That was gonna be my answer.
My goodness.
Man, I was going to say the exact same thing and just piss off the internet again.
You know what was so interesting about today is that was the first time that Dune Part 3 was mentioned, and yet some ding-a-ling-alongs out there have it winning picture and director, and that ain't happening without any of the actors branch. I can tell you that. Like you gotta have some people there. You know what I mean? And Chalamet ain't happening.
No, but we got Rob Pattinson again, so
that's not happening there. He's gonna,
you watch Josh, it. He's getting 4 nominations. So
because that's how it works.
2 in lead and 2 in supporting. It's happening. Locked in. Lock it in.
I will speak for the crazy Pattinson stands because if I was one at one point,
you still are. Come on,
I still am. We're not okay. We're not okay.
We're not.
Just
no.
Josh, what's your pick? Is it Digger?
I'll say Digger. Yeah, it was Dune Part 3 just to be like. I mean, there's some parts of. I'm looking forward to Robert Pattinson in Dune Part 3, but that's about the extent of it. But yeah, but Digger, I just can't with Iñárritu. I do not think that movie's going to be good. I am not predicting it in any of these categories because I have enthusiasm. I really do have like an allergy to Iñárritu's movies, but I'm sure the text will be fine. But no, I'm not really invested in anything about that film except being right in my predictions. That's about it.
Oh my gosh.
Mine's The Social Reckoning. Like it's got to be that. Like that is the movie that we're talking about the sequel to maybe the best film of the decade of the century of the 21st century, and then he's making it in. Well, The Social Network is one of those films, Eric, of the 21st century.
One of them, sure. Yeah. You said but that's a pretty high bar.
I would say that movie is one of the defining films of a generation, and for this to be its sequel and how it looks and the reshoots and it not playing these film festivals when we thought it would and the Sorkin of it all, like I am not enthusiastic about getting that email for my local screening. Let's just say that. It's going to
Yeah,
be
couldn't
rough.
get David Fincher back because he was too busy dealing with Quentin Tarantino's table straps.
Looking forward to that movie. It's going to be good.
There we
Oh, I
go.
could have
All
said
right.
that. Can I change my answer to
Yes, you
Oh
can.
yeah, that would be your answer.
That's my
I feel
least
like that makes
anticipated movie.
sense.
Yeah, that's my
No,
answer.
serve it in your heart. You know it's in Eureka. Don't lie, Josh. You're just saying that
Oh my
to make
God.
me mad. And you can never make me
I
mad.
don't know. You do not know my full thoughts about what I think about this Cliff Booth movie.
All right. Okay. And with that, after a much longer podcast than I intended, what did I say at the beginning? Hey guys, an hour tops. And
I knew that
here
was
we
going to
are.
happen.
Like
Yeah.
220. Whatever. It happens. It happens. Josh, please tell everybody where they can find you and your work.
You can find me on Twitter, Blue Sky, and Letterboxd at JR Parham, and you can find my work at Next Best Picture and AwardsWatch.
And Sophia.
You can find me on Twitter at Sophia_Sim, Letterboxd, and Blue Sky at Sophia Sim. And you can find my work, writing, reviews, interviews, and more at AwardsWatch.
And Ryan.
You can find all my work here at awardswatch.com, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, Blue Sky at Ryan McQuade 77. If you like podcasts, we are in the middle of our Jane Campion movie series. We've gotten a lot of great feedback so far on that series. And this week is The Portrait of a Lady, where I know after Sophia listens to it, I will get a bunch of angry text
I might skip
messages.
it.
You might have to. It's
Yeah.
We weren't kind to it. Not a good movie.
Masterpiece.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, no.
Wow. Okay.
Maybe my least favorite Nicole Kidman performance.
Oh boy, Ryan, you're just firing on
Keep-
zero cylinders
Keep
today.
digging, digger.
Like,
Wow.
I'd rather watch
Yeah.
the Ricardos than watch that again.
Oh
That's
my God. Yeah, that's how you get to end this podcast, Ryan. Congratulations.
Cool.
And own that. You can obviously find me at awardswatch.com. I am at AwardsWatch Eric on most socials now, or just AwardsWatch. Please sign up for the newsletter while you are there. We've got Emmys coming up, so interviews, features, and more. We will be back pretty soon with our Telluride Film Festival podcast, which is going to be a lot of fun. We have a huge crew this year, including one first timer, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So I thank you all for listening, and we'll see you next time.